Welcome back to Mayor's Corner. I'm Mayor Nathan C., Pea Ridge, Arkansas, where we are going to hear about business owners, entrepreneurs, and state, local officials about what happens in Pea Ridge. And we are thankful for you to be a part of our show. And today we have the co-founder of Ember Mountain Coffee Company with us, Brian Tidwell. And he's going to talk to us about small business and kind of why they chose Pea Ridge. So, Brian, thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, so super excited to be a part of this town. When when my business partners and I first started talking about opening something in Pea Ridge, I was sitting on the back deck of my Roy Cotton's house, and he just threw out this idea of opening a business together. And we were going to go in the used car lot business, and that didn't quite pan out the way we had planned. Luckily for us, sometimes when one opportunity goes away, others arise, right? And so our wives love coffee, and not that I don't, but our wives love coffee, and they had said, you know, if we're going to go do some kind of business, let's try the coffee or try our hand at coffee. And so, sure enough, we put our plan together, and the thing about this town in particular, I grew up in Northwest Arkansas, right? Born and raised in Rogers, lived in Pea Ridge for most of my adult life. And we saw what was happening in the area with coffee shops. There are all kinds of coffee places. And we just knew that our little town in Pea Ridge was growing, and there was just a need there.
Yeah.
And so it actually, not only was it trying to fill a need in a small town, we actually kind of at the beginning made it our intentional effort to say, you know what, why don't we take our business model and just say, why don't we go to these fringe cities, these areas right outside the larger ones where there is a larger population of people who just need something in their hometown. And so here we are in Pea Ridge. Couldn't be happier. This town has been so good to us. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your investment in Pea Ridge. It's a great investment, and you guys definitely support local, and people support you locally.
Oh, yeah.
You guys help out with scholarship funds and different things. I know that you guys impact lives annually through the scholarship program that you guys do. And how many employees do you guys employ?
We have around, just at our Pea Ridge shop, we have around 15, 17, something like that.
Yeah.
Total, we piggybacked off of this and started in a second small town, as you know. I think total we have around 25.
Okay. That's good. That's a good number. One thing about, smaller communities and small business, 80% of any revenue that's tax-based revenue is made by a small business in a small community.
Wow.
And so, we are a growing community, as you said, and, as we continue to grow, we hope that you guys get to flourish as well with that growth and get more and more customers. One thing about your business that you guys model is kind of what's your mission? What is your focus as far as through your team?
Yeah, right. So, besides just wanting to have great coffee, right? I can tell you from the bottom of our heart that our intent is to just make somebody else's day better. Our little tagline, that warm feeling. We try to live and die by that. And we just, whether it's a laugh in the line, whether it's I've stood in the line and laughed with people and stood in the line and cried with people.
Yeah.
And for us, let's say we have a coffee shop in Dallas. I spent a lot of time in Dallas in my previous life. Your daily traffic is a mix of different people. Sure, you're going to have regulars, but there's going to be a lot of people you've never met before. Here, we see a lot of the same people every single day.
Yeah.
We know them by name. We know what's going on with their children. We know what's going on with their parents. I've held hands with people and prayed for them right there in the line, right? So we just want to make a difference in somebody's life. And you're right. We've really tried to be involved with the scholarship. I think the 24 Forever Scholarship, we've done around, I'm going to say north of $30,000 in scholarships. We love our police department, our fire department. I tell those guys all the time, uh, I don't want to do what you do,
Hmm.
and we're so grateful.
Right.
And so we've given to those entities. I mean, we've tried to give to everything from ball teams to FFA
Yeah.
groups, and yeah, we just want to do the right thing by people. One of our core values is hospitality, and we just want to be the kind of people that you want to talk to, right?
That's right.
So,
And the number one thing about any business or any municipality is the first impression. What is the
oh,
first
sure.
impression people get whenever they come through Ember Mountain? And as you talked about, people are getting the first impression that people care.
Hmm.
That whenever they come through, that you're creating that sense of community by just having conversations with people and not just creating them to be a number, if you will, to come through the line,
Oh,
but
sure.
you want to grow that relationship with them as a customer as well. So, um, where did the word, like, where did Ember Mountain come from?
Okay. All right. Yeah. So once we settled on a coffee shop and we said, this is what we're going to do, we're going to sell coffee. Um, we did the same thing probably a lot of people do in small business. You start thinking, what names are we going to have? What are we going to have for a name? So I sat with my wife and our other business partners, Roy and Jamie, and a notebook and literally just said, okay, guys, what are other names for coffee? And I'm writing as fast as we can go, and they're throwing out names, Mud and Slinging Coffee and Joe's and Java. And I mean, we're writing all these things down. And about a year and a half before we had opened, our business partners, they lost their 15-year-old son very suddenly. It was just a tragic, horrible thing to have to go through.
It was tragic for the community.
Oh,
It was
and
tragic.
this community responded. It
Yes.
was, it was unlike about anything I'd ever seen. And I remember looking at Jamie and just asking, Jamie, what did Aiden's name mean? And uh, she said, honestly, I don't know. And we did the same thing that most people do in this day and age. And we asked the Google, and sure enough, Aiden's name means little fires.
Wow.
And so I said, a little fire would be an ember. And instead of just going with the typical ridge, there are a lot of things that have the ridge
Hmm.
motif
Right.
in our town. I said, why don't we do something with mountain in it? And Ember Mountain was kind of born then. Of course, we talked to trademark attorneys, and but we actually have our name is trademarked. Nobody in the country can use that name for their business, but that's kind of where it came from, Ember Mountain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story. I think that a lot of people, will appreciate knowing the story where that came from. Because a lot of people in the community knew Aiden from school or from the 24 Forever scholarship fund that you guys do. So whenever you guys were looking at doing a small business and you chose Pea Ridge, did you guys think that it would be, was it an easy thing to do? Was it a hard thing to do? And would you say that your metrics that you guys were going after have been met by the community coming to your shop?
Right. So it was the easy answer, or the short answer. It was easy. We knew that we wanted to serve a small town so that
Mm-hmm.
they could have ownership in something where they could say, this is ours.
Yeah.
Right. Um, and even since then, we've heard people say, I go to some of the larger cities that are next door to us, and they'll mention other shops, but they're proud to say we have our shop,
Right.
right? And so, though it belongs to me and my crew, it's become theirs, right? So it was easy, yeah, for sure. As far as metrics, um, it's really funny when you're starting a business, you think of all the things, or you try to think of all the things that are going to be expenses. Try to forecast and decide, this is how much money we're going to make, right? And quite simply, you need to make more money than you're spending.
Yeah.
And and that's pretty simple math, right? So we had determined a number and said we need to sell X amount of drinks a day on an average price of X for a total net revenue of X, right? And then next to that, we had all our list of expenses. And as it turns out, the expense list grows on you. Uh, I won't go into all the details on it, but they're just things that you, uh, as a small business owner, things you get to pay for that you didn't realize up front that you're going to have to do, right?
Yeah.
And so that kind of started eating into some of the margins. But even still, once we got things kind of leveled out, man, we took it, there was a learning curve for us on payroll and inventory. But once we kind of got that figured out, we're able to sit back down and say, okay, realistically, we need to sell X number of drinks a day at an average price of X number to get X dollar in net revenue. And we average over that.
Nice.
So it's like I
Good.
said, this community has just been phenomenal
Yeah.
to us, right? So
That's
yeah,
good. That's one thing that I will say about Pea Ridge people is they support local. That's one thing, if anybody, ever comes to Pea Ridge, they'll have more support than they ever thought that they would have
oh,
because
I hear it all the time in the line. People will say, I'd much rather buy here, and part of me is like, so you think your drink's bad, you just want to support local, and they're not meaning that at all. I mean, in fact, they will say, and the great thing is it's good coffee.
yeah,
But I hear it every single day. I hear, somebody will say, I love to support local. Ironically, we have people that will drive here from Monette on a Sunday afternoon. They just ate lunch and they'll tell their family, all right, guys, jump in the car. We got to run to Pea Ridge and get our
wow,
coffee, right? From Monette and Neosho and from Bentonville and Springdale and from Eureka Springs, people will drive in, and yeah, they want to support their towns, I'm sure, but those people will come here and they will say things like, I just love to support local business. It might
hmm
not be their hometown, but they grasp what it is to support local business. So
yeah,
I hear it all the time.
yep. From the standpoint of local business, do you find it that um, you will expand any at your current location at all? Is there any looks to expansion of any sort or
So at the at that location,
yes, sir.
yeah. So I think we're pretty set up on our
Okay.
model. We've got some, and some things are just slow but sure, right? We went for 2 years without a real sign by the road.
Yeah.
We finally got that.
Looks good too, by the
Yeah,
way.
thank you very
Yeah.
much. Best sign in town.
Yeah.
So we're looking to do some upgrades. We've got, we're on a pretty thin budget. Not everybody knows this, and maybe I don't know, but when we borrowed our money to start, we got everything bought, got the building bought, got the machinery bought, all the product, our POS system. We had everything in place. We had hired our employees. We started getting them trained, and it was time to start paying employees, and we were out of money. You got to
hmm
start selling things
Right.
to be able to pay your employees. We hadn't sold a thing yet, and I
Yeah.
had no money left.
Yeah.
So, and again, back to, shout out to the local things. Um, took my truck title to a local bank, and they gave me money just to be able to cover our first set of
Right.
payroll.
Yeah.
And it took about a year and a half to be able to pay that back off. But thank God for local banks. So having said all that, so there have been some things that we needed to do. We went really short on what we needed for asphalt just to get it by. So we've got some plans to expand some of that in the back and do some upgrades in that direction. But our model's our model, and
Yeah.
we'll probably and we've made it work really well.
I think you're in a good location right there.
Oh yeah,
You're kind of in the heart of the city, right there, across the street from our soon-to-be 6-acre park that we're going to build.
that will be amazing.
It's going to have 17,000 square foot community center on it. So, great location. And I would also like to talk a little bit about Roy and Jamie Cotton, who are your partners in this business. They, they're hometown people as well.
Oh yeah,
They've been here for a long time and they've been a part of the community as much as anybody has been.
oh absolutely, with the alumni and all kinds of things.
Yeah. But we're thankful for them as well. What advice would you give people that are starting a new business in Pea Ridge or in another small community?
So a couple of things, and this is going to sound really like a cliche. I don't mean for it to, but it's true. The first thing you got to get past is the opinions of others that are, because everybody will tell you why not to do something, right?
Right.
Never let small minds stop big dreams. Uh, probably some of the best advice I could give is to, you know, do as much homework as you can, but be willing to start. Um, I, I, I love quotes. I love good quotes. And I'm honestly, it may have been Albert Einstein, not Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, who had said, uh, anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. Because he knew that if you waited till you had all of the kinks worked out, you'll never start.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we prepared ourselves as much as possible. And I would say do all the homework you can. Have a financial plan, have an operations plan. Get all the things in place. I think every small business needs to have a good accountant. They need to have a good attorney. They need to have a good insurance agent, and they need to have a good bank. Those four things, those four partnerships, you have to have. Do all the planning you can, but don't be afraid to start. I'm not saying to just do shoddy work and let it be, right? Excellence. You need to try to shoot the bar at excellence. Another quote, I think it was Vince Lombardi who had said, he had told his team one year that, gentlemen, we are in the pursuit of perfection. And though we're people, we'll never be perfect. But in our pursuit for perfection, we will achieve excellence, right? So try to perfect as much as you can up front, plan, shoot for that. You'll hit the mark at excellence. And then some things you'll learn as you go. And you just, as certain things close, you look for another avenues. That's the best advice I could give somebody.
Well, that's good advice. Those quotes are good too. And those quotes can be used daily for all of us.
Yeah.
Brian, what's your favorite drink at Ember?
Can I say the left side of the menu?
The left side.
No. So that depends.
Okay.
So, if I'm super thirsty, I'll grab a climber, typically a pucker up, which I'm drinking now. Thank you for that, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
If I want something hot on our specialty menu, the Sand Dune's my favorite. I'm a caramel guy. It's loaded with caramel. But I do own a coffee shop, so I get to play with drinks, right? So I have a kind of a thing that I make that's not on the menu. We did a maple praline cold brew that people order all the time. Every day we're selling them, but I make it in a hot version in a breve, and I'm telling you, I need to make you one. It's come by and hit me up. I'll make one. It's fabulous.
Good. Brian, what do you like to do on your time away from work? What's your
So on my time away from work, I like to work on work. Back to advice for business owners. You have to be all in. Somebody asked me this morning how I was doing, and I said, let me tell you how I'm doing. I've been married to the love of my life for 31 years. I have 3 grown children who are contributing members of society. I have a beautiful grandson that I would die for. I wouldn't trade houses with anybody. And every day I get to do something I love. And if I died right now, I'd be with Jesus, right? So I have the greatest life ever. But outside of what we are doing as a company, ironically, there's a difference in working in your business and working on your business, right? So outside of working in it, I enjoy working on it and dreaming and planning and thinking about our next steps. And
your wheels are always turning for what's next.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, I do like to read. I like to write. I mean, I'm all in.
Right.
That's the best way I know to say that.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, that's good. That's a good business owner right there, is being all in. Do you guys have any plans for new sites anywhere yet? Or do you have anything in the works right now that you want to talk about? If not, that's fine.
No, sure. We said at the beginning, sometimes you're so gung ho, you don't see all the obstacles. And I think maybe, if you have the right vision, you don't see the wall standing right in front of you. All you can imagine is what's on the other side, right? So we said from the very beginning, hadn't opened a single shop yet. And the four of us were like, we're going to open 10 coffee shops. I mean, if you're going to do it, right?
Do it. Go big or go home.
Go big or go home. And just for me as an individual, I've always been fascinated by things that are growing and things that are large. I mean, I can go to a big city and look at the big structures and just, I mean, I'm awed by how humans can do such big things. Um, I'm awed at how companies have gone, and we live in the probably one of the greatest stories of all time with in Walmart country, right?
Right.
How one guy
Mhm.
opened a little small retail shop that I used to shop at when I was a kid. um, and now it's the largest retailer in the world. And I have to think he probably saw that when he started, right?
Right.
So having said that, you know, we are plan. I'm answering this in the long way. Sorry. We definitely had planned on building more than just a couple of shops. So I'd love to see about 10 or 12 in at least in this area.
Yeah.
Um, we've talked about to this day continue to talk about some of the smaller cities that need things. That doesn't mean that we haven't learned enough to say maybe we should venture out into some of the bigger areas, right? As far as exact locations, we've looked at everything from Bella Vista to Springdale and up into Missouri a little bit. You know, you,
Yeah.
you know, when you're a small business, you have to be you're still part of the nuts and bolts, and you know, we can't spread them out so far that we can't make it to all of
Right.
them, right? And I can't open one in Indianapolis and another one in
You got to
Miami.
commute to
Right?
that. Yeah.
So, you know, the short answer is yes. We plan to expand. We don't know where yet. I'm really hoping we get to build a third shop
Good.
this year.
Awesome.
And maybe even we talked about maybe even trying to tackle two shops at once. I just don't know where yet.
Cool. That's good. It's good to hear you're expanding and that you're doing great here and you're doing great things in the community. Um, is there anything else that you want to talk about before we get off?
You know, I love this city. We were talking beforehand.
Yep.
At you know what's happening in this city, and I'll put a plug in for you. I've known you for a long time, and you've always had a heart to serve, which makes the best leaders. I saw you as a young man when you weren't the leader, serving others, working quietly behind the scenes. I've from a distance seen you work in just about every aspect you could think of in the city, and thank God for you. We pray for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, and just I love this city. I love what it's doing. Thank you for what you're doing in our community. Um, yeah.
Yep.
So
Well, thank you very much. It takes a team to make this work, and it's the employees that, help us move forward. And, we have a vision set forth of creating a space, a better quality of life for people.
right,
And we strive for family values. And so that's what we're going to do with some stuff that we're going to have coming forward in the community. But, as far as Pea Ridge goes, Pea Ridge is geographically set up that we accept, or we have a lot of commuting that goes through Pea Ridge on Highway 72
right,
to get to I-49, to get to three of the largest Fortune 500 companies.
right,
And we are right there on their pathway. So big thing for us is trying to get people to stop in Pea Ridge and shop. And I think that's what you are getting from Ember Mountain is, in the morning, you guys have a line out to the highway. Sometimes
right.
is good to see. And you're out there taking orders and telling your dad jokes as been talked about. And that's what it takes though for a community to thrive is people taking the risk as you guys did.
Right.
And, we appreciate people taking risk on Pea Ridge. Pea Ridge, I think, is the next best thing to come. And, we have a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody that's looking for a great community to look at Pea Ridge. And we see people in the line. I've had people that come through and that will say, we just moved here and we love it.
Yeah.
I've had people that come through that say that you'd be surprised. The people that have come through and say, we just been looking for a place to live and we're exploring this city. And man, when they say that to me, I throw the commercial on, right?
Right.
And I talk about our churches, our schools, and our small business, and I talk about you and what our city's doing, and everything just seems to be moving in the right direction. And I know
Yep.
I don't want to just sugarcoat it. I'm sure you have obstacles and things
Sure.
that are and hiccups and challenges and things to work through. But man, this is a great area.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're definitely blessed. And we are blessed to be where we're at right now. And we're blessed to have business owners like you in our
Thank you,
community
man.
as well. So for today, I think that's going to be it for today, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. Look forward to the next subscription that we're going to have, and we'll have a next guest speak is going to be Chief Hahn is going to be on next month's, and we're going to talk about public safety and a little bit about the great city of Pea Ridge from the police department. Thank you very much.